Welcome to Inquiring Minds with Donna Carlin and Steve Harper. I am your host, one of your co-hosts, Steve Harper, and with me, as always, is Donna Carlin. Donna, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm over the moon. I'm excited for another amazing conversation. I don't know about you, but the people that follow me on social media are like loving this show. They're really digging what we're talking about and really like our perspectives on these topics and I'm getting great feedback. How about yourself?
Oh, it's the same thing. The funny part about that is I'm getting emails and phone calls from people saying, this is so cool. And I'm going, it would be kind of nice if you actually put that on the social media site that you're getting it from. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
just really funny. But I'm glad that people are not only loving it, they're having the conversations in their homes
yep.
and their offices, which is kind of cool.
Absolutely. That's all we could ask for, right? I mean, just to, inspire some additional conversations, inspire some additional questions, which has been, it's been fun to receive for sure.
It's about people, relationship with themselves, with others, people at work, doesn't matter. These are important conversations for us to have.
Absolutely. Well, and with that said, what are we talking about today?
So it was a conversation I was having with a colleague of mine. Can you be the person that others want to help? And that is a loaded question because are you approaching others with grace, with openness? We are often willing to help others. Are we willing to be helped? So are we that person? Do we honor our commitments that we make? Do we keep them? All of the questions that are incorporated in the could we be the people that others want to help?
Well, and I think that, it's a really interesting question because I think it actually is yet another thing that we put on the table for people to actually think about. Am I that person? Am I conducting myself in a way that somebody would actually step up to the plate to actually want to help me if I was in a situation where I needed help? And how do I respond and react when I am given help or the offer for it? And, a lot of times I think, and I'm sure you've seen this with your clients, is uh, people want to be, further along than maybe they are on a situation or a problem or job search, whatever the scenario might be. And they are really good at belly aching that nobody's helping them. But at the end of the day, they're not actually thinking about, have they made it very simple on themselves for somebody to actually step up and actually want to help them? Are they somebody that they're willing to, that somebody's willing to actually make that investment of time or that commitment? And that is an important aspect to sort of self-reflect and see, are you in that, are you doing everything you can to be one of those people that, people would stop whatever, they're doing to want to dive in and help you in a situation where you needed it.
What I find amazing is that often it's that we are too proud to accept the help.
Yep.
And I tell people, turn it around for a moment. How do you feel when you help somebody and you help them achieve something that they couldn't do on their own? It's really fulfilling. It's gratifying.
Yep.
However, when you stop others from doing that to you because you're too proud or for whatever reason, you are keeping them away from feeling what you feel when you give.
Yep. Oh, that's true. You're robbing them of the experience.
Exactly. And it's saying to them, you don't have the knowledge, the experience that is good enough for me to accept your help. So not only that, it's like a double whammy.
Yep, absolutely. So how do you suggest people are cognizant of that and what do they do to change that? Because if that's kind of your natural approach to, putting up that wall of resistance, it can be somewhat difficult for you to change that behavior. So what do you suggest when you find yourself kind of resisting that help? How do you stop yourself in the moment? What do you do differently? And how do you acknowledge the gift that someone's trying to give to you in terms of their assistance or help?
Rather than judge them based on what you already know, ask yourself, what might they know that I don't? What life experiences do they have that I don't? Doesn't matter if you go to school with the same person, you have the same classes as somebody, you're going to take in different information because you're a
True.
different human being. So ask yourself, what don't I know that I need to know? What does that person know that would benefit me? And how can I show gratitude in them actually doing that? These are really important questions to ask. And the second thing is, what are you robbing them of?
Yep.
And
Oh,
just to ask yourself that question, what makes me think that I know everything there is to know, to the point where I'm not going to be intaking any information or perspectives from somebody else?
yep. Yep. No, that's good. That's really good. Have you ever run across a scenario where someone didn't realize at the time that they were needing the help, but and you had someone there who was providing or willing to provide the assistance that they were looking for, but they didn't recognize it at the time? How did you coach them out of that scenario?
What's really interesting is there's something that is called the immunity to change. And a lot of that is all the stories we tell ourselves as to why we don't deserve something to happen, or why it's never going to work for us. All the negative stories that are going on in our minds that stop us from getting help, because if we listen to somebody else, say, I ask you for some advice, some help, some support, whatever it is, and then I systematically knock down everything you say because I don't want to chance failing. So
Mm-hmm.
therefore, if I do anything that you tell me, then it's going to just come back to haunt me because it's not going to work. That's because I've talked myself out of it to start off with. So it's not the conversation about how are you getting help. The conversation is, what is stopping you from being open enough to listen to what the gaps are.
Yep.
Those are the conversations we need to have. How are you listening? Is it generous? If I may, there was a book that I read called My Grandfather's Blessing years and years ago. And in the introduction, the author was talking about her parents being Russian immigrants to the United States, being brilliant in their fields. She was a little girl going to a school where they gave them aptitude tests, IQ tests. And at the end of the day, her mother picked her up and was walking her home in the streets of Manhattan. And she said to her mother, do you know that I'm one of the smartest kids in the entire country? And her mother stopped, knelt down, looked her in the face and said, look around. I want you to see all these people walking around you. And she sort of nodded and she said, you will be smart when you realize every person on this street knows something that you don't know, has some life experience that you don't have. And when you recognize that, that's when you'll be the smartest person in the world.
Wow. That's
And that
great.
stayed with me. It really stayed with me. Those are the questions we need to ask ourselves. What don't we know? Not what do we know?
Yeah, I love that. I love that a lot. I think, you touched on something that really kind of resonates with me because I find it in my own world, right? Sometimes it's that fear factor of letting somebody else down by taking their advice or their guidance and then it not being successful because I think it's the ego at play that says, hey, that they see something that you don't, right? And there's a real value to that. But they also see something in yourself that you probably didn't see in you. You don't see in yourself, right? And you don't want to set any false expectations, which I think actually is one of the defense mechanisms that we use to resist help a lot of times. If Donna gives me this advice and suggests I do this, this, and this, and I end up failing her, what's that going to leave by way of impression or how she thinks of me in the future? And I think, to your point, the fear factor is one thing, the story we tell ourselves about the situation without asking the more deeper, more meaningful question really leaves us open to really, not allowing ourselves to receive that gift of the help that someone's trying to give to us because we're afraid of letting them down and looking foolish in the process.
The way I look at it is, if you take my advice and something doesn't work or you fail, as far as I'm concerned, it's what you've done with that failure that speaks to who you are as a human being, not whether or not you fail. We
Yeah.
all fail.
Yep.
So I was just reading the other day that you learn to walk, you fall down, you failed. You get up, you dust
Yep.
yourself up, you try again, and you learn from that mistake. And you learn how to do what you didn't learn before. You don't necessarily succeed the first time around. What you do after you fail, that's what tells me whether or not it counts.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I love this topic because I think it's really important for our listeners and our audience that might see this on YouTube to take that away and ask yourself those deeper questions, and ask yourself the last time that you found yourself in a situation and somebody was actually trying to step up to help you, and how you received it, and how you interpreted what they were giving to you, and ultimately how you responded and reacted to it. And I can say for myself, as my head is just spinning, right, in terms of this, I'm really good at offering help. I'm not good at taking help a lot of times. And I don't know that it's necessarily fear, but I also feel like this sense of, gosh, I should know this, or I should, feel like I didn't need somebody else to point me out the way that I should go or the direction I should head. And so you feel a little disappointed in yourself. And you have to realize that, like you said with that story, that analogy is everybody has an experience. Everybody has this vast perception that you may not have, and every little bit that you can take from anybody that's willing to give you any little bit of that gift is valuable, and it may lead you down the path that ultimately helps you find the success that you're looking for in whatever circumstance it might be.
I always approach things from curiosity. When somebody gives me advice, I ask them, what have you experienced that's telling you to tell me this? I want the full story. I want to know where you used that really helped you create a shift in your life.
Yep.
And how do you see that shift being applicable to my life? Those are the conversations I am dying to have. So for me to ask for help, I would share a scenario with somebody by saying, this is what's happening currently. Have you experienced this before? What did you do about it? How did you address something like this? So that I could look at what might be applicable to my life. The great thing about asking for help in that way is that you could always tailor what they've told you to be more specific to the situation that you're living in your life right now. So it's easier also to ask for help in that regard.
Yep.
I know if I want help in this kind of stuff, in the video creation and all that, I'm going to call you because I suck at that. And I figure, if I'm good at some stuff, you're good at some stuff, and we just, meld things together. Together, we're going to figure it out.
Absolutely. Well, I love that. And I guarantee you probably know way more than you give yourself credit for. I can assure you of that, actually. So, well, as we wrap up this conversation, are there any last tips that you'd want to leave our listeners or our audience, that how to be cognizant of someone that's, providing you this gift of help, and how to respond and react to it? Ask yourself the deeper question. I think those inputs were really, really good, but anything else that you want to add?
There's a flip to that. Right? Is that other person somebody I would want to help?
Yeah. Yep.
So to look at it from both sides of the coin, am I somebody that others would want to help? And is that somebody that I would want to help? And to look at it from, both perspectives, I think really helps you find the answer that you need.
Yep.
And it also helps you do triage as to who you're going to take the time to devote, to helping. Because they are acting from a perspective of grace and acceptance and generosity.
Yep. No, well
so just
said.
Keep that in mind. Yeah.
I think that's great. I love that. Excellent advice for sure. This has been a really, really fun conversation. We invite you to, let us know what your thoughts are. Leave us a comment, tweet us, tell us what your thoughts are, how you struggle with this, or maybe how you found yourself responding or reacting in a situation like this. We would love to hear feedback on this topic and how everybody else perceives it. Donna, how would people get a hold of us to give us that feedback or that input?
They could get us on our group's page, Inquiring Minds, on Facebook or on Twitter. _shadow coach is who I am. And what's your Twitter feed?
My Twitter feed is @RippleOn, RIPPLEON. You can find me on Twitter and you can find me on Instagram. And of course, if you comment on our Facebook page, we both see it. So, we will both engage with you for sure.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, this was great fun, and we'll be back very soon with another Inquiring Minds conversation. Take care.
You too.